afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Recon here. We got some more Girls X Battle 2 content for you guys, and today we're going to be covering Estel. She is the recently new girl comes out. I know that we're going to have more in the future, but this is the newest new girl we have in the game. Today we're going to be covering the her abilities as always, her gears, crystals, antiques you can run on her, and then we'll get into some fights afterwards. And surprisingly this time, it's not going to be single PvP on her. We're only going to be focusing on PvE for her. PvP, I can see if you're early game, she might be helpful kind of in a way, maybe. But PvE wise, she's going to be top tier on damage, guys. Especially with multiple copies of her, she's going to be probably the best doing damage on girls. Alrighty. And before we get into the rest of the video, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Your support would be really appreciated as we help grow this channel to help everybody else out in the game that's new. Alright. I want to start off with her abilities. Now, I did have elite skills on her. As far as elite skills go, you're going to want to do the first one. Mostly get it to 5 first. And then you probably want to do the second one right here to beef up the damage. That's what you want to do. But we're just going to show it as basic stats as it is. And we're just going to run it as basic and not upgrade her at all for the fights. Alright, so we're going to start off with our active. So, deals 400% of attack damage against 4 random enemies, dealing an additional 400% of attack damage to targets. For every one different debuff that the target has, DOT attribute reduction, control effect, or marks, the additional damage received is increased by 400% of attack damage and has a 70% chance to increase the target's remaining rounds of DOT attribute reduction or control effect by 2 rounds. I know there's a lot there. Let's break it down real quick. So it's going to do additional 400%, and then it will deal another 400% of attack damage depending on how many different attributes. So if you have poison, bleed, an F mark, Hornet mark, which is Linky's marks, an attack reduction. Let's just say use those 5 as an example. It will replicate all. It will count each one of those and do 400% for each one. So essentially, the more debuffs, attributes, reductions, marks, control effects you have on a girl, the more damage Estel will do. And then she will also have a 70% chance to increase the target's remaining rounds. So if there's not a round limit on something, then it's not really mattering. But let's say a girl says, gives enemy girl poison for 2 rounds. It has a 70% chance to increase that by another 2 rounds. So you're keeping the marks on there longer and longer, allowing Estel to keep doing damage more and more. So you're not worried about the girls having your girls having to reapply those marks over and over again. So if you have multiple Estels, let's say you have 3 or 2, both of them running their actives, each one's going to have 70% chance, the next one 70% chance, and the next one 70% chance. So your likelihood of increasing those gets more and more, essentially. So if one doesn't do it, the other one might have a chance of doing it, essentially. So it keeps those marks on there, or what DOT or attribute reduction, whatever, on it for longer periods of time. Her first passive, Estel's HP increases by 30%, attack increases by 40%, which is good, crit increases by 35%, control immunity increases by 30%, and speed by 60%. Speed's not really that big of an issue. Control immunity, that's kind of good for Sanctuary, but still not the best there. Just lost my train of thought. Oh, did I just forget her name? Kratos. Sorry, Kratos is the best for Sanctuary, period, on that because of her control immunity, so she doesn't get stunned, essentially. But the attack increase here is the important part, and her crit increase. That is 2 key important parts of this right here. Is what I like. Next up, we have next passive. Basic attack changes to deal 250% of attack damage to 3 random enemies, doing an additional 250% of attack damage to targets for every 1 different debuff a target has. So it's the same as the active. It's just not as much damage as the active is, essentially. The additional damage received is increased by 250% of attack damage. So it's also not going to be increasing the amount of rounds that the DOT or attribute debuff, whatever, increases them. This is just doing damage on a lower scale, essentially. Our last passive. At the end of round, replicate 1 random enemy 3 types of DOT or attribute reduction onto 2 random enemies. Each debuff can be replicated for a maximum of 3 stacks. So she picks 1 random enemy. So in PvE, if it's just 1 girl, it's going to pick it anyways. And it will increase those attributes, reductions or DOT. Only those 2. So not a control status or mark, but it will replicate the DOT and the attribute reduction, which is great. Helps out a lot. So that's a plus on that. All right. So essentially, her abilities, she abuses any type of debuff in the game, essentially, and she turns it into damage. That's the takeaway here. You can take away with it. So the more we have on her, the more damage she's going to do. All right, now let's get into the gears. Okay, so obviously, you could run a split if you want more attack. You can do the first one as mage for your weapon right here, and then the rest of them you can do angel for maximum attack. But if you have pink sets, obviously you want to do the abilities on the pink sets. Not much of an issue, but because this is a debuff and we're applying it to them, it should count. So, can it be stacked? Probably can't be replicated. It's probably not getting replicated, but the fact is, for 2 rounds at least, we're getting some damage every time she uses an action, she applies it, so that's a plus. Of course, if you want to get to Mage 3, you put it on her, you do it there. I only have Mage 2 on her, but she still does a lot of damage. The Nebula Core, all you're going to do is crit damage, crit, and attack. You want her crit to get a little bit higher chances and her crit damage. The more damage she can do is better, and boosting her attack a little bit. That's what you want. That's where she does the most amount of damage. That's the most success I've had her. Even though we don't have Sky Island to show, Sky Island, I reached 7 billion damage with her in Sky Island. Just one single one by herself. So, of course, that was against Capsule Girl, but it was with this setup. Plus, 2 antiques really you can use. I guess 3. You can use Swiss Army Knife if you don't have anything else, just to help boost with crit and do the attack. Thorn's Heart, which most people have a Thorn's Heart because we give a couple away pretty much for a really low amount of money or for free, kind of essentially, but not really. Or Soul Destruction, which I found to be the most useful because most of the girls in PvE modes don't have block, or their block is not that high, so that precision gets turned into attack, and we're boosting attack, and we're boosting our crit damage. Yes, I've used Thorn's Heart. The crit chance is higher, but the damage overall seems to be higher with the Soul Destruction on it. Soul Destruction seems to be the best PvE antique we have right now for damage wise. If that makes sense. So that's what we have on here. All right, no skins for her yet. We'll get one eventually, hopefully. And of course, our limit breaks. So all we're doing is trying to get the highest attack as possible. So most of the time we're doing PvE modes, the enemy's girl's HP is going to be higher. So you're going to do Blackwaters, which is going to boost damage by 12% every time the HP of the current girl is attacking is higher. So it's going to boost that. Plus, we're going to do normal attack here. So, and then we're going to do Baptism. Now, Baptism is good for Sky Island. When we're doing Capsule Girls, you're going to have to run Baptism to remove the stuns. Now, if the girl does not do any stuns whatsoever on the enemy team, right, you can go ahead and do All for One and help boost your attack right there. By number of girls alive, you get a boost of 1.2%, which is great. You can do that as well. You're just going to have to figure out which girl stuns. So Sanctuary won't work out there because Sanctuary boss stuns all the time, essentially. And then next up, the fourth one, just do attack. And so this one, it can vary. So depending on the mode and how much damage the PvE does, you're going to run shield potentials to keep your Estel alive, depending on how much damage it does. And if you don't have a problem with her dying, let's say in Practical Works, which we're going to show fights in Practical Works because that's where she does her most damage right now in the game, besides Sanctuary Island, or I'm sorry, Sky Island, I don't have to say that. We're going to be running Willpower because every time she gets hit or she's attacked, she'll do 4% of maximum HP. If she's above 50% health, she should be. So Practical Work doesn't do that much damage. And then if it is below, she will heal. So on that. Now this one, because her crit is higher, she's most likely going to crit most of the time. Like 90% of the time. But it's on 85 right now. But 90% of the time she's going to crit. Most likely. So she's most likely just going to heal herself. So we don't really need the heals for her. We have other girls that will be doing a little bit of heals. So we're going to run Willpower for Practical Works. Sanctuary? Oh, sorry. Sky Island. Sanctuary as well. Baptism. Sky Island, you're probably just going to run Willpower anyways instead of shields. But every other, like, Security Squad, Sanctuary, you're going to run shields essentially. And on tests, if you're using her on tests. I don't know why, just for the walls. All right. So we're going to switch it to this for Practical Works. And we are going to get into some fights right now, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So I've already done, obviously, the chisel one because I need chisels. You knowing me, right? So what I have left is this. We have it on level 2. Let's see if we can get how far we can get on damage on her. And probably going to take two turns to do it. But the goal at some point is going to be to try and finish this in as least amount of turns as possible. What we're going to do on my alt account, which we're going to be creating just for PvE. We're on my main right now, but my PvE is going to be created solely for PvE. My main alt is going to be created for PvE, essentially. So that will be our challenges on that. So let's do this. So I set it up, essentially, for as many different marks as possible, right? So Viera, we're going to shrink her. That's going to be the main point for her. Plus, she's going to do some heals. The Trinity has bleed, and the disintegration mark debuff. Essentially, a debuffs for blocks, but it's still a debuff, right? Then we're going to have the weakness boost debuff, what do you want to call it, for psychic, and her attack reduction on her basic. And then Linky's going to have the armor break for psychic. The Linky is the attack reduction and the Linky mark. And of course, Nephilim, we're going to have the health debuff mark and the equilibrium mark. So we're getting a lot of marks here going. And of course, we have the Estel for damage. And last up, we have poison with the we have elixir for the pet. Now, if we had a new girl coming out that does poison and bleed, we would need to we can run Hunter instead, but we're not running Hunter here because we want the poison damage. If we ever get a burn pet, we would run burn essentially from some new girls coming out. That would be a different mark. All right, let's just get into this. We're gonna run at 2x speed at first, just to see our damage. So obviously, we want her to go last on the team, right? So, see, this one we need baptism. We screwed up. I screwed up. I don't remember everything on these girls, but that's a key takeaway here. So she's going to miss an attack. We're going to speed it up. I can never watch it. See, we had 103 million right there in that attack because we have all these. Hopefully, it replicated some of those marks. Well, I shouldn't say replicate, but increase the rounds on them. Now, the early girls all have baptism on them because we're just trying to keep them to keep doing their basics or actives to keep the, what do you call it? Them to keep attacking and get their stuff. So 141 million there. Maybe we'll get a kill on her. I don't know. We're getting close. So remember, the higher we get more Linky also on her marks, the Linky marks getting higher, the more damage we're going to do. So it's important to have a Linky go first. So 137 million there. I might not have as many marks on as we did. Now, if we had baptism, this probably would have been over. I'll tell you the truth. I think she's going to die. Not from the Estel. Yeah. But we got 1 billion damage. We had over 1 billion damage from the Estel. We did it in 1 turn. So you can see right here, as many marks as we can get, the higher damage she does. That's insane. That's just one girl. 1 billion damage by herself. All right. So with that, let's just switch back to baptism. Where are you at, Estel? And to make it better, we're just going to throw her in the F1 slot. Oh, sorry. Battle. We're going to... No. I'm messing stuff up already, guys. All right. We're going to fight it again. Put her in the slot. The whole way she gets hits. She procs the willpower. Hopefully. Now we don't have to worry about her getting stunned or whatever status effect it may be. See? 83 million. Now we're just starting out. So remember last time we didn't get a turn 2 attack, so we didn't get to see it, but that's still pretty good. The Viera is only a 9-star, so of course she's going to be stunned like that. So as long as she keeps the shrinks on, we're going to get more damage. But the point would be to at least have your support girls at LB3. Like, I think he was LB5 for a reason for Sanctuary Island when I did it for it to make it faster than my other stuff. The Psychic, I would Me personally, I would probably make her to LB3 to make sure she's faster, or at least LB4. But LB3s work just as fine, as long as you can try and make them faster than your Estels. So Estel is pretty fast, though. So, but at least LB3 for those potentials of baptism, essentially, for your Spark Girl. To maximize damage, I should say. To maximize damage. I do not think we're going to finish her this time. But we're still doing a pretty good amount of damage. 247 million right there. You see that? Got them replication of marks at the end of the round. Now with another girl, another Estel, it's going to be replicating again. So the one Estel will replicate at the end of the round. Then you have the second one replicating at the end of the round. So it's just going to have a double. Triple will be... I won't tell you would probably go past 3 Estels. 2 is good as well. So we'll just have to see what more support girls we get out and testing further to see how well that works out, essentially. But right now, 1 is still good. It'd have been nice if I could have shown 2, but I didn't get enough copies of her, so... See what damage we can get here out of her coming up on the last turn. 125 million. That's not bad. But it's not as good as that one round we had of 247 million. All right. So we did 1,295,333,632 damage. That's a lot of damage for one girl, guys. One. Now it'll be fun to see what 2 of them can do together, helping to increase DOT and replicating the marks even more on that one girl. So we might get more damage, or we might get less because it might be spread out between 2. So we don't know. Plus, I know the new girl coming out, this Blair, is going to help also boost Estel a lot better as well. So, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got for you guys on damage-wise for Estel and what she can do. Hopefully this helps out with you in your PvE escalades. I can't talk today. I don't know why. I'm sorry, guys. But if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please comment down below. I'd like to hear what you think about her. How you would think she does in PvE, or if you're only focusing in PvE, this is your shining girl for damage-wise in certain modes. Other modes, not so much, but Sky Island and Practical Works, she's going to be the go-to damage dealer, essentially. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, as I always say in every video, be safe out there. It's a crazy world, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.